Good, beautiful morning, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Shortcuts for Your Soul. I get up with the birds around 5-ish, and I'm out here, and I get messages all the time. If I pay attention, I can just tune in. It's like this stream of information that's always there, ready to be tapped into at any time, and we all have that. And this morning, the lesson I got was you have to forgive, but you do not want to forget. And I asked what was meant by that, and they said, they meaning the divine collective. And they said it means you have to let go of your emotional impediments. That is, the emotions you carry around from the things that happened to you. They were pretty straightforward and graphic about what it meant for me. And so I thought I would share some of that insight with you guys today about what they mean by that, about forgiving but not forgetting. And it's really important you understand that when you have an experience in your life, if you've gone through abuse, or you've been in poverty, or you've gone through difficult times, or you're dealing with addictions, you're usually dealing with these things because of your emotions. And the events and experiences that you have in the past often have emotions connected to them. I know for me personally, going through abuse, the years that I had to endure it, I was a very angry person because I was being forced to do things that I did not want to do all the time. And that made me really angry. But I was not allowed to articulate that anger or that frustration or that upset. I was forced to keep it inverted, which of course in subsequent times, all that anger that I kept stuffing inside resulted in me doing things and behaving in ways that harmed myself, where I was physically damaging my body with alcohol and drugs and attempts to commit suicide, because that anger was not allowed to come out. It was not allowed. I had to be held on to. And when they said that you have to share based on your experience what is true for you, and I want to share what is true for you, because it's really important that you learn to forgive, which means to let go of the emotions that you're holding on to. Forgiveness isn't about saying, okay, I forgive you for what you've done. That's not what forgiveness is about. You might get to the point where you can come to that understanding, but forgiveness first and foremost is about letting go of things that do not serve you, thoughts that serve you, emotions that do not serve you. In my case, it was anger, fear, guilt, and shame. All were emotions were the result of me feeling powerless and incapable of dealing with a person that was physically stronger and superior to me in that respect. And so some of you might be carrying a lot of anger, a lot of fear, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame from your past. And forgiveness is about learning how to let go of those emotions. And a lot of people, there's this movement happening on the planet called the Ascension Movement. And it's a movement where humanity's collective unconsciousness has the opportunity to shift from fear to love. Now, fear has a spectrum, an emotional spectrum. And in that emotional spectrum of fear is anger, guilt, shame, depression, sadness, anxiety, uncertainty. There's a whole range, sadness. There's a whole range of shades of emotion in that energy of fear, just as is in the energy of love. There's a whole range of emotions in the energy of love, of playfulness, curiosity, excitement, compassion, kindness, peace, bliss. There's a whole range of emotions. The vast majority of people, they tell me, are holding on to a lot of old emotions. In other words, you keep them trapped inside you. And what happens is they end up exploding out of you because you can't contain them anymore. And I know because I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. What they wanted to communicate today primarily is you must have a mechanism in place from where you can begin to release these old emotions from your body without projecting them onto other people, without projecting them, because this is what is happening. A lot of your anger, your fear, your frustration, your doubts, you're projecting them onto other people. And so you end up throwing this negative energy back and forth at each other all the time. This slows your progress down. So we want to offer you a simple process for being able to release these old emotions from your body. It is very simple. It is not difficult. You do not have to endure years of reliving through the conventional therapeutic process, reliving your pain and your anger, your frustration, your guilt, your shame. You already know you're angry. You already know you feel ashamed. You already know you feel good. You already know what you know. Because it's within you. It's stuck within the fabric of your physiology. And what we want to offer you is a simple process for being able to realize where you hold those emotions in your body and how to release them. And the function of forgiveness is letting go of. The function of forgiveness is letting go. But never forget what was done to you. This way you will understand and be able to identify people who are of that function. You will not be blind to them. Your anger, your fear, your guilt, your shame will blind you to those who would harm you. But in a place of clarity, of love, of compassion, you can easily recognize those who are of fear, who are of control and power and authority. But in order to get to that place of being clear and lucid enough that you can recognize when people are being manipulative, controlling, dominating, destructive, you must release those emotions from within yourself so you do not harbor them inside you, so you're not blinded, you do not filter that out. So you recognize it when you see it in others. Every emotion you've ever experienced resides in your body. It does not have to remain there, but it resides there. For the vast majority of you, from the moment of conception to the point of about 7 years of your biological age, in that period of time, you simply store information, you receive information without due reason or evaluation. There's no capacity for you as a sentient being from ages 0 to age 7 to articulate reasonably what is occurring. You simply receive, react, and respond in the fashion that your biology allows you to, in which case you simply receive and store. You do not understand how to process, to utilize, to release certain emotional qualities. And if you have found yourself in environments where there's much aggression and toxicity and emotional dysfunction, then you will most certainly have acquired the habit and the function of withholding and keeping inside you certain emotions, your frustration, your annoyance, your disappointment. You'll keep them inside because to express them may mean that you could be harmed or injured by the people around you. And yet there's a very simple, easy, functional way to begin to release these emotions from your body. Now, they asked me, I'm just giggling because they think it's funny when I transition back and forth from transmitting to communicating my own personal perspective. So for me, it was anger. My biggest emotion was anger and fear. From age 7, well, actually earlier than that, but where it was the most intense, from about age 7 to around age 13, where I was enduring physical abuse from a step-parent, my stepfather to be exact, who was extremely controlling, physically very violent and aggressive. And that, of course, was bonded with very destructive sexual impulses on his behalf. And so my strongest emotion during that time was anger at being forced to do what I didn't want to do and not being allowed to express that anger. So I suppressed it. I inverted that anger. I held it in my body. For me, I held my anger in my chest. I held my anger in my head. And that's where I kept it for many, many years. And each and every one of you that have gone through a very difficult time or an emotional trauma, even if it's a car accident or you've lost somebody you love, the emotion of the event gets stored in a very particular place in your body. And if the emotion remains left in the body, then there are functions of behavior that will naturally begin to evolve from that suppressed or sustained and held emotion. And there's two steps. One, recognizing and identifying where in your body you hold those old emotions. That's the first step. You can take any past event that you've gone through, any past event, and ask yourself, where do I feel the emotion from that event? So you were in a bad car accident. Where do you feel the emotion from that accident? Your body stores experiences in its cells. For me, the abuse that I went through was stored as anger and fear in the head and the chest area. And what they taught me to do, which you're going to learn right now if you want to apply it, is one, how to identify where it was. So you remember the event that traumatized you or upset you. And then you recognize, where do I feel the memory of that emotion? You might feel it in your heart. You might feel it in your shoulders. You might feel it in your legs. You might feel it where you feel it. But what's important is you recognize, oh, there's where I hold my sadness. I hold my grief over here. Or in my knees. A lot of people hold emotions in their joints. A lot of people have joint problems, knee problems, back problems, neck problems, because they will store emotion very precisely in their body. Events cause you to store emotion in very precise and specific ways, unique to you and the existing circumstances. For example, if a child is having a parent yelling and screaming at them, and the child goes to show their anger with their face, but the parent says, "Don't you look at me like that," then the child tries to force or hide the emotion by changing their face. So they store the emotion in a place where the parent won't see that function of emotion. And if the child repeats that process of hiding that emotion, then that emotion gets hidden or trapped in the body to later cause certain effects in their life, because their emotions will cause functions of behaviors. Suppressed emotions will cause functions of behavior at different points of time and space. For me, the emotions that were suppressed between ages 7 and 13 began to emerge around age 16, where I began drinking heavily, getting involved in methamphetamine, getting involved in criminal activity. A lot of the emotions of anger, rage that I had articulated themselves several years later as those behaviors. And I was believing that my anger was because of the world, and in one sense it was. I was treated a certain way that wasn't correct. But the emotion was mine to resolve and release, and the emotion is yours to resolve and release. You cannot expect the world to fix you when you have the capacity and the power to change your own emotional state. So you recognize, where is the emotion from that experience? Right now you can choose an experience from your life that was really upsetting for you. And if you remember that event right now, you'll feel where your body reacts to it. Maybe your hands are clenching, Maybe your head's going down and you're feeling sad. But the emotion lives in your body. And once you recognize where in your body that emotion is, that's where you want to process the liberation, the forgiveness, the letting go of the emotion from the body. And there's the second step. One is recognizing where the emotion is in your body from a past event. And second is getting into a communication with the emotion, where you actually communicate with your anger or your fear or your guilt or your shame, where you have a communication with your emotion that was never allowed to happen because the environment told you, don't feel that way, don't express that, don't do that. So you don't have communication. You cut off communication with your own emotional energy. So the first thing is identify where the emotion from that particular event is in your body. Second step is to develop a process of communication with the emotion. So you might feel your anger in your head like I did. I felt my anger all up in here, especially up the top part of my head. Crown chakra area, which blocked off a lot of communication from my guides and angels, or being aware of it even. Once you recognize where an emotion lives in your body, the second step that you get to consider then is what type of communication does that emotion need? Most emotion, whether it's anger, fear, guilt, shame, sadness, depression, anxiety, those to name a few, those emotions usually require a function different than that which caused them. In other words, what caused those emotions Might have been somebody being angry, judgmental, controlling, authoritative, violent, aggressive, or abusive with you caused those emotions, and you trapped them in your body. And now those emotions need something other than what caused them to exist. And that's a communication between you and the emotion. So let's say for you the emotion is sadness. And you recognize, oh, I feel that sadness in my heart. Sometimes I feel sadness up around the third eye, around this part of my brain. I feel sadness in there. So you will move your awareness to the place where that emotion is, whether it's sadness, anger, fear, guilt, or shame. It does not matter what quality of emotion is. What matters is that you become aware of it and you get prepared to have a communication with it that's never happened before. And I'm going to promise you something, and you're going to leave a comment in the comment section about this, because it's important you share your transformation with other people, that you could give them the opportunity to know that it is possible. So you feel that emotion, whatever it is, sadness, fear, guilt, or shame, from that emotional event. Recognize where it is in the body. And the first communication you're going to have with that emotion are these words. And you're going to think or speak, or think and speak these words to that emotion. I will not ignore you anymore. Whether it's your anger, your fear, your guilt, shame, you're going to just think and speak those words to that emotion. I'm not going to ignore you anymore. And as you communicate those words to the emotion, observe how the emotion reacts and responds to you. Just observe that. I've often seen people, when they first communicate that, I'm not going to ignore you any longer, to an emotion, sometimes they'll burst into tears. Sometimes they'll feel a great euphoria. There'll be a release, because you're allowing a communication between that which is denied and yourself. You're acknowledging it. You're accepting. Acceptance leads to transcendence. And so in extending that thought to the emotion, allows it to feel recognized and seen. I'm not going to ignore you anymore. And however your emotion responds, make note of how it responds. Write that note down, become aware of it. Now, after you've had that first communication and it responds the way it does for you, the second thing you want to communicate to the emotion is, I'm willing to love you and take care of you, even if I do not understand you. And again, you're going to think and speak those words to that emotion. No matter how it has changed after you've spoken thought to it, I'm not going to ignore you anymore. And then you follow that up with, I'm willing to love you, even if I do not understand you. And again, when you have that communication, be aware of how that emotion changes. Most often, the emotion starts to liberate from the body. Forgiveness means to let go of. By having this communication with these suppressed or repressed emotions, you're allowing a space for them to open and leave the system, to not be trapped in your body anymore. We hope that this is making sense to you, and that you're experiencing it, and you're doing this, not simply just listening to what we're saying, but that you're actively having an interaction with an emotional quality within you that is unpleasant. So you get to experience the function of your ability to transform your own emotional state, your own emotional energy that's been trapped in your body, for some of you for many years, and some of you even lifetimes. So these two starting points of communicating, 3 points: recognizing where the emotion from an event is stored in your body; secondarily, initiating communication with that emotion; and thirdly, allowing the emotion to go through its dynamic change. And as it goes through its dynamic change, which it will, not likely, it will, you will experience it. When you say to an emotion, I will not ignore you anymore, it feels your words, it reacts and responds to your words. The same is true when you communicate the second statement, I'm willing to love you, even if I do not understand you. Because from one perspective, you do not understand that emotion. But from another perspective, you're acknowledging it. And you're admitting the truth. I do not understand you, and I'm willing to love you. The emotion will go through another change. And then the third and final consideration you want to offer to that emotion is this. The third and final communication with the emotion, it will not, of course, be the final, but is the final part of the communication relative to what we are communicating through this one today. And the final part of communication is, from this point forward, I will love you and take care of you. From this point forward, I will love you and take care of you. Now, these three statements of communication to your emotion require that you're willing, whenever that emotion comes up, to pause and be present with it. Whether it is anger, fear, anxiety, guilt, or shame, that you stop, you become present with it, recognize where it is in your body, and then initiate that communication. I will not ignore you anymore. No matter how intense, because sometimes the emotion will get very intense when you acknowledge it. And when it does this, it's very important when it gets more intense to say, no matter how intense you feel, I will not ignore you. No matter how intense you are, I will not ignore you anymore. Because the emotion was ignored. It was denied. It was negated. And now you're accepting it. Allow it to come out. But be present. Do not let it act out on its own through you, but communicate to it no matter how angry you are. I'm with you. I love you. You are to stay in this communication with it. I'm willing to love you even if I do not understand you. From this point forward, I'm willing to take care of you. Be very conscious of how the emotional energy that you're interacting with changes with each step. Be aware of how the emotional energy in your body dynamically changes when you say, I will not ignore you anymore. I'm willing to love you even if I do not understand you. From this point forward, I will love you and take care of you. Whatever the emotion it is that you are interacting with, these functions of thought will induce a change into the emotion by law. This is the process of forgiveness, where you begin to let go of, transform, transmute, transcend emotional qualities trapped within your physiology. Again, for some of you for many decades, some of you for years, some of you for perhaps even lifetimes. But once you functionally begin to interact with the emotional qualities within your body consciously, the very nature of your interaction and your consciousness, because the nature of what you are in truth is a function of creation and love. And when you are consciously, intentionally interacting with an emotion from the perspective of love and acceptance, the function of love and acceptance induced into the emotional quality changes it. The vibration of your thought directed to an emotion will direct it into a functional and spontaneous change. And this is the simplest function of forgiveness you will find anywhere. It is the simplest function, for forgiveness means to let go of. And in this process of letting go, you'll begin to recover and reclaim the energy. You'll begin to liberate the stress of those emotions off your nerves, your organs, your glands, your bones, your ligaments, your tendons. As you let go of, transform, and transmute these old emotions, your body begins to spontaneously go into a healing process. For emotion organizes matter into the conditions in which you find your life currently. The moment you can functionally change an existing emotion, you'll functionally change the things that occur in your world. These 3 steps we offer to you today that you might apply them and consider them. When we came to this one this morning, it was very easy for him to comprehend, as he's been doing this work for approximately 5 years with us. So he has somewhat of an understanding, which makes it much easier for him to accept that there are beings in this universe that will do good to you. That your anger, your fear, your guilt, your shame will keep the door closed from receiving love. And yet you are the very essence of what needs to interact with your own emotions. You. It is you and your awareness and the way in which you interact with your mind, your emotions, and your body that you can begin to effect transformative changes in the unfolding of your soul's creative process in this dimension. Many of you are looking for something outside of you to correct this which is within you. And while this has benefit, if you're fortunate enough to encounter the right situations and circumstances and individuals that could offer you correct and proper knowledge, then that is good. But the vast majority of you are finding yourselves caught up in systems that simply find ways of increasing and improving repression and suppression of these emotions through drugs and other forms of intervention that do not serve you in empowering yourself to be the healer that by nature you naturally are. Your soul is a healing consciousness. The function of your nature is love. And when you learn to assert the function of your nature over your mind and body, you'll begin to move towards the functional purpose as to why you came into this physical dimension. How love functions through you is one way. How fear and anger function through you is another way. As there are only these 2 polarities of emotional qualities that you have to deal with, it is very simple. There is no complexity. There is only fear and there is only love from which you can create. Fear is a very difficult and challenging emotional energy to manifest healthy creations through, if at all. But your function of love will lead you to, well, a most wonderful and remarkable state of being, to remember who you are, to remember that you are love, that you came here to function creatively. Creation is love. Destruction is fear. Creation is love. And so, understand what we have said here. These are the 3 steps. You may need to go back and re-listen to this at another time. But the function of transformation is in your consciousness, in your awareness, and your ability to understand the simple and easy to apply mechanisms of thought and intention upon the mind and body. Or you can continue the futile journey of looking outside of yourself for the very thing that is inside you to be corrected. That you, by nature of what you are as consciousness, are in fact a healing function. That you can turn to your anger, your sadness, your fear, your guilt, your shame, your disappointment, and you can transform and transmute the quality of those energies from one state into another, which is forgiveness, to let go of the old and embrace the new. You transform the energy from one state into a new state, as the function of energy, whether it is emotion or matter, the function of energy is that it cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed, it can only be changed from one state into another. The function of energy is that simple. It can be neither created nor destroyed. So that which is made as anger can be transformed into patience or love. You can change a function of emotion by the way in which you interact with it. So you let go of the old by the process of transformation, and it becomes renewed as something else. You see that system of transformation and transmutation in your natural physical world, where you observe a leaf fall from the tree. It decomposes and is absorbed by the ground. and becomes many other things. So too with your emotional energy, these old emotions of anger and fear and guilt and shame, you may transform them and transmute them into something very different than what they appear to be for you in your own consciousness. And you may be the agent, because by nature you are the agent of transformation and change by birth, by what you are, made in the image and likeness of a great creating intelligence that says, ask and you shall receive. Yes, it is very simple once understood. And like anything else that you will learn, there is a process, sometimes a little awkward, like a child learning to ride a bicycle. It can be a little awkward as you learn to balance and navigate those conditions of balance with the body on that bicycle. The same will be true for learning to navigate and balance the function of your interaction with your own internal emotional qualities that you've acquired from your past, both the past of this biological lifetime and the past of other lifetimes that you have brought forth to be transformed, transmuted, corrected, and healed. This is the time of ascension, and the energies are very strong coming into this dimensional planet. They are not as overt as some of you can see when you see massive activities of your sun, but the consciousness of your sun is continually offering this energy to you to elevate yourself up. And as you begin to transform and change your negative emotional energy, as you gain the function of the power of the alchemical transmutation of energy, because you are transforming emotional qualities from one state to another, then you begin to understand the function of creation from your own immediate experience, which is precisely the same function of the sun or the earth. There is a natural, spontaneous transforming and transmuting occurrence of their interaction with the environment in which they find themselves. Your sun has the environment of the solar system and the broader spectrum, and it transforms and transmutes within the sphere of its consciousness what you observe in your planetary systems, just as you, in the consciousness of your own mind and body, can transform and transmute very specific energies of emotion to induce changes in your function of creation. Because when you change an emotional quality in your own mind and body, you will alter and change the function of behavior. Once you change an emotional energy, you will change the function of that behavior. Once the emotions change, a new behavior will begin to emerge. And you can use the function of will. You can train your body to do things differently. You can use your will to be organized and coordinated. But if you do not resolve, transform, or transmute certain qualities of emotional energy, then all of the discipline you can assert will be for naught, because you will not be dealing with the underlying emotional energy that must be changed and transmuted in order for behavior to functionally change as well. Emotion must be changed for the function of behavior to change. And if you are sad and you are depressed then there are functions of behavior that are naturally a product of that energy. So then one must learn how to change the energy of sadness, to alter that energy from one state into another, that the function of behavior can then change. The function of anxiousness and nervousness necessitates very precise and specific behaviors. And you can modify behaviors, but if you do not modify the underlying emotion, the behavior will only be modified temporarily. And so you must learn to change the function of the emotion first and foremost, that the function of behavior can then change. For emotion orchestrates the function of behavior through your physiology. This is why so many of you use your willpower to try and stop doing this, and I'm going to do this, and I must make this happen. Many of you use willpower and fail, not because you are a failure, but because you do not understand that willpower will not change a function of emotion. Willpower will change a function of physical action, but only insofar as that emotion remains changed. That is, if you can continue to change the emotional quality, then the action of necessity will change. But it's far more difficult to try and change the physical energy first, the behavior, than it is to change the emotional energy first, which orchestrates behavior. The moment you can functionally change the quality of emotion within your own being, you will functionally change the opportunity of action that occurs. You must change the emotion for the function of behavior to change more easily and readily. You must learn to do this. Willpower is not sufficient enough to achieve the desired outcome. But once you change the function of emotion, then the function of behavior by law will change. Forgiveness is the process of transmutation, to let go of the emotion from one state through your interaction with it, to transform it into a new state, which gives you different emotional resources from which your will can be in alignment with. And once you start to generate emotions that feel good, then the actions you will take will feel good. But if you are using your will to try and suppress or force yourself to overcome those emotions, your willpower will be temporary at best. The underlying emotion must be interacted with first and foremost for you to establish long-term transformation. When that happens, when you gain enough experience with your own functional ability to change and transform emotions, then bear witness to the ease with which you can change and transform your actions in alignment with that emotional quality. Then we come to the second consideration, because we said you must learn to forgive but not forget. And what must you not forget? You must not forget that when you hold on to certain emotions, certain functions of behavior occur. And you must not forget the behavior of those that propagated or initiated your mechanism of repression. You must recognize those who are destructive and abusive. And when you release yourself from that, you will become far more sensitive to it. You'll be more aware. You'll be less prone to repeating unfortunate and unpleasant situations, such as repeating in destructive relationships that occur because certain qualities of emotion remained unchanged. And so it necessitated very specific events occur. But in the transformation of your own internal emotional energy, once that is functionally changed, then you will very clearly recognize and see that those that are of the function of behavior that would be harmful and destructive for you, you'll spot them a mile away. And you'll simply say, no. So you must forgive. That is to let go, to release, to transform, to transmute these old emotions. But you must not forget how you acquired that process and the type of person that would do that to you, so that you never forget what is done, but you do not carry the anger, the pain, the shame, and the guilt of what was done any longer, as a lot of those emotions were projected onto you from them. We shall leave it with that today. Thank you. Wow. Now, for those of you that are wondering, we are in our Masterclass 102 right now. We just started, we're in our first week. It's an amazing course. And it's all about this, where you get to deal in a class learning environment where you can go into really deep dives in a very intimate group of people, where you get to bear witness to people, what happens when they actually change their emotions right before your eyes. And we've seen people's bodies go into healing, where there's like actual physical conditions that they've had for years suddenly heal. Chronic headaches disappear. Neck pain, like things just vanish when you learn how to change emotion. And it's a beautiful thing. I encourage you, consider signing up for any of our master classes, because you'll learn everything you're hearing today, but you'll learn it directly from them in a very tightly knit environment where people are really focused on that process of learning to understand the function of creation, which is our true nature. You are by nature a creator. Remember that. Good morning, everybody. Hi. Good to see you. Hi. Oh, sorry, no one do that. I'm just going to scroll back up. Got lots of questions and comments here. Lots of people here. Hi, everybody. Good to have you here. Wonderful. Yeah, good to see you. So for those of you asking, I have an energy of the group called the Divine Collective with me right here. Good afternoon, William, and all souls here from beautiful South Africa. Well, thank you so much, South Africa. Good to see you. Hi. I have to change that pretty soon. EMDR helped me through this process. Also, special flowers. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Hi, Daniela. Good morning, John Avi. My brother uses this exact technique in his therapy practice. Congratulations to your brother. It is so simple and so easy. Well, welcome. Hello from Mexico. Buenos días. ¿Cómo estás? Yes, hi. Good morning to you. Hi. Just seeing where we got questions and stuff going on here. I don't have a lot of time for questions today. The trauma body eventually takes over to be heard. It's a long process to love it back into balance. Actually, no, it's not a very long process. You know, in what in conventional therapy can often take years, we've seen happen in weeks or less in our masterclass series. Again, I channel the Ascended Masters. They work one-on-one with people. They work in the group, and they take us through discussions and an experiential process where you get to experience the very thing that's discussed, and then you get to experience it for yourself through your own mind, through your own body, so that you go into a knowing. Because if you don't experience it, it's not going to become true for you. So hearing what you're hearing now is one thing, but to experience what you're hearing is something else. In a masterclass, it's very clearly articulated as an experience, not just as communication. But no, the trauma body does not have to take years. Remember, there's three components for trauma to be healed. One, understanding how to get the body quiet, how to get the mind quiet, and then how to interact with the system. Those are the three key components. Even intense PTSD, if the individual recognizes the distinction between the body and their awareness, their mind and their awareness, if that distinction by anybody in the therapeutic process, if you recognize that the body is just very shaky and nervous, if you recognize, oh, that's the body is feeling the trauma of the memory of the bombs going off, or the trauma of being beaten, or the body remembers the trauma, then you can train the body, teach the body to relax, release and let go, and then you can go inside and deal with the fear and the anger and the terror that the body might be feeling. Body doesn't know how to release trauma from itself. It stores information as memory, so if anything like that happens again, it knows what to do. But you can release terror, you can release trauma from the body if you recognize the difference between your awareness and the body, and what process you can bring your body through to get it into a state where it lets that energy go. Because you have to teach the body how to do that, because it taught itself how to protect itself the way it did. But yeah, even intense emotions can be healed pretty quickly. Hi. What signs will I experience if I'm suppressing negative emotions? This is a great question. It's not a general rule for everybody, but there are general rules for everybody. And you can feel tension, you can feel headaches, tension, physical disease, because emotions will cause reactions in the body. If you got chronic anxiety, then your body's going to be in a constant state of fear. The body's going to be in survival mode all the time. But you can experience things like headaches, fatigue, depression, anxiety. Those are general symptoms. But if the body is in a low vibrational state, there's several things there. You're either holding on to a lot of old emotion, you're not feeding your body properly, you're not exercising your body properly, you're not giving your body playtime. So there are very specific functions that the body will demonstrate. It will differ from person to person. Some people who hold anger will get chronic headaches. Some people who are holding on to depression will have very bad stomach aches. The symptomology of an emotion may be unique to individuals and according to their environment. For me, as I said, I held a lot of anger in my head and upper chest. So I used to breathe up from the upper chest. I used to breathe only up my chest all the time, because that you breathe from there when you're in survival. And I learned how to teach the body to breathe differently, and now and of course how to release that emotion, right, along with their guidance and support. Oh, you're very, very welcome. You know, your heart. I know what you mean when you say from the bottom of your heart, but your heart is eternal. When you realize who you are and how powerful your love is, you're going to be quite amazed. I might have to shut that door over there. Some comments have been filtered. That's okay. That happens. Is there a message I need at the time? At this time, I hope you've listened to this. For those of you that have missed the original transmission from the Divine Collective, I encourage you to go over to my YouTube channel and watch the replay of the transmission today. Watch the replay of the transmission today so that you get a chance to really hear their message for you, because it's literally life-changing if you apply it. Let me see here. Healing offers trauma. Healing others' trauma in a helpful way without attaching is a great next approach to healing. Exactly. And when you're teaching people how to interact with their own emotional energy, and you're not being the therapist. I don't like the word therapist. I never liked the word therapist, because if you break the word therapist down into syllables, it's the rapist. Interesting, eh? That the word therapist comes down to the word the rapist. If you break it into syllables, I don't like the word therapist. But a healer is one that understands how to empower the individual to evaluate, reflect, and interact with their own psychology and emotional energy and physiology in a way that empowers them to gain functional experience of how they can directly influence their own minds, bodies, and emotion. And that's what a healer, a true psychological healer, is one who knows how to empower the other person so that they can interact with mind, emotion, and physiology in a different way. And they gain immediate and direct experience. And that's the way the Ascended Masters do it in our master classes. They have you directly and immediately interact with your own emotion, and they have you evaluate your own experience so that you come to know, oh, if I think this thought, or if I breathe this way, this happens. So they start to gain authority and control back over their own minds and bodies. Because remember, most people are conditioned that your life depends on what happens outside of you. Somebody has to say or do or something. Something out there has to happen to make you feel a certain way. What the Ascended Masters have been teaching us is that you have to think, feel, and interact with your mind and body in a certain way to create a certain energy, to create a certain state of being. Right? It's really cool. Jasmine saying, when I said I will not ignore you, I felt some tears come out, and then I relaxed it through my crown chakra. I feel better now from one application. I do feel a change. It is so simple. I'm so grateful to hear that, Jasmine. Polly saying, hello, I will watch on replay. I'm at the hospital. If I could just ask for love and healing, William. Truly grateful. Thank you. Okay, Polly, I'm going to ask you just to be open and receptive to receive. Just make a decision. I'm open. You must think this thought. I'm open and receptive to receiving the healing I can at this time. I'm open and receptive to receiving the healing I can at this time. And now I'm asking Archangel Raphael and Archangel Michael to move their energy close to you. And I'm going to transmit my energy as well as a healing vibration and let you receive it in the way that you can. So that's going to happen and take about 10 seconds here. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that, Polly. Really appreciate it. Hi there. Janine's asking, hi, Janine. What can I do now to improve my situation externally and emotionally? Stress is taking over and I feel stuck. Or is there a message for me? Thank you. Just a second, I'm going to have to close. Hey, darling, could you close that door out there to the laundry room? Thanks, love. There's a process that you can do right now. If you're open and receptive to this, Janine, take a deep breath. The place they always start us with is the breath. So take a deep, slow breath. Fill the body completely with your air. And as you exhale, allow your body to relax. Just give your body permission to relax. And then do 2 more slow, deep breaths like that. Hang on, I'm going to shut this door. Give me 1 moment. Voila! That is how we do it. So take a deep breath and just keep breathing slowly and deeply, Janine. Like slow, deep breaths, and give the body. You have to consciously give all the muscles right now permission to relax. Let all the tension go out of the arms, the legs, the chest, the back. Give them permission to relax. And you'll notice that when you exhale, the body automatically has a relaxation response when you exhale. So let all those muscles relax all the way down to the soles of your feet. And notice on each exhale how much easier and more fully the body relaxes. That's just what happens. It's an automatic response when you exhale. Now I want you to feel where in your body the emotions are connected to what's going on in the world. Whatever it is that's frustrating you or upsetting you, feel where those emotions are in your body. Recognize where they are. As you become aware of where those emotions are in your body, sense the space that they occupy precisely. And now communicate this thought to those emotions. I will not ignore you anymore. Just communicate that to them. I will not ignore you anymore. And be aware of how those emotions respond to you after receiving those words. And then turn to the emotions and saying, even if I do not understand you, I'm willing to love you. Communicate that to those emotions. Even if I do not understand you, I'm willing to love you. And just repeat that slowly and deliberately to those emotions. Even if I do not understand you, I'm willing to love you. And just notice how they change and shift in your body. And now communicate this thought to those emotions, to that space where those emotions were. From this point forward, I'm going to love you and take care of you, even when I don't understand you. And communicate that thought to those emotions. I'm willing to love you and take care of you from this point forward, even if I do not understand you. And just be aware of how those emotions change. And anytime those emotions come up in the next few days, anytime those emotions come up, Janine, just turn your attention to them and say, I will not ignore you. Even if I do not understand you, I love you. Use those phrases because you want to shift the internal emotion for the external world to shift. I know it sounds very strange, but your emotions are intimately connected to the events in your life right now. In fact, every emotion you have within you is connected to every event around you. And once you change a function of emotion in you, then the function of behavior changes through your body, and everything connected to that emotion undergoes a corresponding change, and you'll see events and circumstances in the environment shift to match the shift in your emotion that you're experiencing right now. So practice that, Janine, and get back to us. Let us know how that went for you. If you feel like, if you experienced anything right now, please make a comment about it in the comment sections. That'd be really lovely. Thank you so much. You know, Leslie, I'm going to say this to you. You have to stop being so obsessed with what is happening. I understand you're passionate about doing what is right, but you sustain and maintain yourself not in the position of healing that you wish to be, but you are fighting an enemy, and your enemy will be persistent as long as you persist in fighting. That fight, that anger, that rage that you feel inside, this is where you must make the correction first. Make the correction in your anger, in your fear, in your rage. Correct that. Then the function of your action will change to be empowered to produce a very different result than the one that you keep repeating again and again and again. What you resist persists. So you cannot resist your anger. You must transform it. Wow, thank you. Masterclass 102 is life-changing. I highly recommend it. Thank you, William. You're welcome. Again, you can go to my website, Masterclass 102. Our next Masterclass 102 begins March the 29th to April the 18th. Good morning, Loretta. Thank you for your wisdom. You're such a blessing to this world. So are you. Any message for me today from Jesus? Yeah, love one another. Yeah, love one another. Love one another. When you have love inside yourself, you will love others. And if you can heal your own anger, fear, guilt, shame, then you will love one another. You'll love one another when you have that established in your own heart. You can only give from your store what is in your store. Establish love in your heart, in your mind, in your body, in your words, and you shall reap what you sow. Wow, so Wendy's saying, I fell down, hi William, I fell down, I took a fall down a flight of stairs and have mostly healed from October, but elbow continued to zing me. What emotions are held there? Very simple way of finding out. Again, Wendy, I would highly recommend you take our Masterclass 102 because you'll go into a deep dive, but really simply right now, again, there's a whole bunch of I'm only going to give you what I feel is appropriate because I'm getting a whole bunch of information for you about this, but why you fell downstairs, what the preceding events were, what the emotions were that caused the event, because an event can only happen in your life if there's an existing emotion to sustain the manifestation of it, because emotion organizes matter. As my guardian angel John always tells me, emotion organizes our experiences. Again, okay. I'm being shown it's like a hot poker going into the elbow. Great frustration and fear and terror that has not been released from you. And the reason this event happened is because the emotion had to find some way to come out. It had to find some way for you to become aware of it. Most people have accidents or bad events that happen because the emotions are trying to get your attention. The body needs your attention. So again, I cannot recommend it enough times. Take our Masterclass 102. But the emotion that's stored in the elbow is the last place where that emotion is still suppressed. You're still aware of it because you feel it. But in the other place in the body, you've gotten over the pain, right? But you just simply repressed a lot of the emotions again. You can discharge the emotions like that from an event, and then you'll recreate it again if you don't deal with the underlying emotion. But again, I'm getting a really intense, like a deep, deep rage, like a really irritating, screaming rage that you have to release and heal. Forgiveness means to let go of. You need to release that. Again, you can book a reading with me, Wendy. That will certainly take you into a whole new direction. Thank you, William. There was a release and tears are running. I will keep this up. Thank you very much. I'm so happy for you, Jean. Anybody, please understand, so many people are looking for a pill or a drug. You're looking for someone, a relationship, sex, or something to make you feel better about yourself. And it's only going to be temporary. If you keep looking out there, it's going to be temporary. It won't be very lasting. That's why relationships fall apart now, because people do not know how to have a good relationship inside. So you can't sustain a good relationship. If you don't have a good relationship inside, you will not sustain a good relationship outside. And most people are unconsciously choosing relationships from their pain. You're just doing it. You need to heal your internal emotional energy for your external world to show that function. Because your external world is revealing to you what you're holding in your internal world. And everybody's trying to change the external world to change the internal world. It does not work. It's always temporary. I don't like this job. I hate this job. I'm going to find another job. I'm happy with this job. And then a few months later, I hate this job. Until you deal with the hate in your own heart, you'll continue repeating that. Oh, I hate men. I hate women. All that. If you don't heal the hate in yourself, you'll continue experiencing that with men and women. So what do a lot of people do? I'm not going to bother with men. I'm not going to bother with women. I'm not going to have a relationship anymore. That's the same. So you're not going to be responsible with healing your own internal mind. That's what that really means. I don't want to be responsible for healing my pain, my anger, my guilt, my shame. I don't want to learn how to forgive that. Yes, I will. So Jesus just wants me to say, forgiveness literally means to let go of. It literally means to let go of. Wow. Yes, please do, Wendy. Don't waste time. Time is meaningless in eternity. This is from A Course in Miracles. Time is meaningless in eternity. Delay is meaningless in eternity, but tragic in time. When you're in this lifetime, time is limited. In the biology that you're in right now, there's a limited period of time. You can wiggle that, expand that, or contract that a little bit. But you've got a limited period of time in this lifetime to get yourself to a certain level of awareness and consciousness and freedom, so that the next lifetime you can continue to progress. Right? Hi. Okay, guys. Hi. I love how you explain that. I'm glad you love it. First of all, I want to thank the guides, the angels, the ascended masters, the mentors, the multidimensional beings, the humans I've encountered, the books that I've read that have blessed me with the wisdom and knowledge that comes through me. And literally, I am a spiritual medium. I allow information that comes to me to flow through. That's what mediumship is. It's allowing information to flow through you. And everybody's a medium. Everybody allows information to flow through them. But the nature and quality of the information you allow to flow through you is going to be dependent upon your emotional energy. The closer you are to love, the more loving and beneficent the information will be. The further you are from love, the more harmful and destructive the information will be. Everybody's a medium. Everybody. You look at guys like, Tucker Carlson, Jordan Peterson, Elon Musk, many others, Candace Owens, Brett Cooper, many other beings. They're mediums. They've tapped into a level of knowledge and awareness. They don't have to evaluate. They're in this flow of spiritual knowing, because they're based and grounded in predominantly the function of love. And the function of love will necessitate very precise expressions. And the function of fear will necessitate very precise expressions. There's no middle ground. The only choice you have in your life is between love and fear in any moment. And my work, the body of work that comes through me, is for the exclusive purpose of shifting humanity from fear to love collectively. Our unconscious collective must shift from fear to love. And when you see war, you know that humanity is collectively still living in fear. When you see greed, you know humanity is still living collectively in fear. When you see slavery and abuse and crime, and you see greed and impropriety, it's because humanity is living in fear. And there's a reason for that. This planet used to have two suns at one point. There used to be two suns around this earth. And the earth was it was called Eden then, right? There was such an abundance and prosperity because two suns ensured that there was a growing season all year round. There was no need for food, grew everywhere. There was no need. You know, there's a guy named Immanuel Velikovsky who wrote a book called When Worlds in Collision, where he talks about a planet entering the system that caused a massive displacement. And that's the time that the second sun was extinguished and displaced, and the world changed. We went from being a dynamic, prosperous, and peaceful global society that we lived in complete harmony with every other life form on the planet. There was no need to eat or consume other animals because we had everything. When that second sun was extinguished, we went to the polarity of dark and light. And we went from that place of bliss to a place of fear. And we're still in the process as a collective species of learning to overcome that fear. Because even in the world as it is, with the one sun we have, we still have available to us the capacity through love and the function of love to feed everybody, clothe everybody, to be abundant and prosperous, to have a Star Trek type of society where our technology is so well developed that the only thing to work on is ourselves to improve and become your best self, not survival. And most people are still in survival and have been for over 72,000 years. For 72,000 years, humanity went from being love-based to survival-based. And we're still in the process of coming out of survival-based. All right. Robin saying, Dave and I can't wait for the session in March. Right now, we are using what we learned in the 101 to meditate, ground, and breathe to help make packaging and travel south to be easy and stress-free. That's wonderful. I love you too, Drusilla. Yeah. Hi, guys. How are we doing over here? Hi. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this out with other people, right? Thank you so much for your explanation. I'm going to do it. Please do. I'm glad you're in Mexico. Mexico's a beautiful country. It's a country that's got its difficulties because I can see the ancient people, the Mayans, the Toltecs, the Aztecs. I can still see them here, but they suffered conquest under, again, because humanity's operated on survival for so many millennia. Conquest and power and authority and control have been dominant in our consciousness collectively. But I mean, it's still so family-oriented here. It's a beautiful thing to see. And yeah, there's drug issues and there's crime that goes on, but it's a beautiful country where the essential nature of the goodness of the soul still resides in the people of Mexico, as it does within people everywhere. The innate core to every human being is love. I mean, for every human being, not for some, the innate core for every human being is love. That love may be encapsulated, suppressed, denied, encased in fear, anger, guilt, and shame, layered over top of it. When you talk about generations of family being controlling rulers and powerful authorities or dynasties, where power and control is centralized around an individual, they're stuck in fear. They're stuck in fear. And because they're stuck in fear, the people they control are also in fear. It takes one to know one, right? You can't have a dynamic happening in a society unless everybody's participating in it, right? Hi. Yeah, I can't wait either. I think we're almost done today, guys. Hi. So you say employment for my wife. So you see, employment for my wife, she got laid off. Really important, you know, in a real world where love is our governing principle, in a world where love is now dominant as a function of our behavior, a function of our thoughts, a function of our actions, the idea of work would be very, very different. Right now, people are surviving. Not many people are working. People are surviving because humanity has been stuck in survival for over 72,000 years. We've been collectively stuck there. Not everybody. There are beings, Jesus, Buddha, Zarathustra, Lao Tzu, Kuan Yin, the ascended masters, archangels. There are many people in this world. There are angels and archangels in flesh right now that do not live in survival. They live in love. There are people in positions of power, political power and authority that are in love that are now coming out forward. You're going to see more politicians that are living from love, truth, compassion, kindness, wisdom, instead of the old model of survival, which is what most governments and most politicians, most law is based in survival. Most law is not based in love. Most of society's mechanisms are based in fear and survival. They're not based in love, right? Hopefully Elon will get a base on Mars and he'll thank you so much. I appreciate that. He'll develop a way for people to be so technologically literate. I mean, not just Elon, but there's many other beings that are innovating how to create machines that produce food out of the energy of the air, like a Star Trek reality, where you don't have to worry about survival anymore. Then you can just pursue what you love. Can you imagine that? You have a machine in your home that produces food. You just tell it to produce food, it produces it. Because it can just convert energy from one state to another. Imagine that. And then nobody's worrying about how much food they're going to have or not have. Then you focus on working on yourself, establishing health, vitality, then well-being. Then you're not focused on survival, because people that are obese, people that are psychologically disturbed, people that are sexually disturbed and distracted and destructive, they're all living in survival. They're in a fight or flight mode. And when you suddenly remove the stressors that cause that fight or flight mode, a different opportunity of consciousness begins to emerge. Sorry, I'm getting into too personal in this, and this is supposed to be about them communicating the truth to you, and we've already done that. But I do love being here with you guys. Oh, you're very welcome. You're welcome, brother. Yeah. So you got to get your wife out of fight or flight mode. Get her out of fight or flight mode. Thank you. So I'm just scrolling up. Sorry about the camera movement on TikTok. I thought I got the right stand. I'm going to have to get a different stand that doesn't bounce around like this. But it works good. It doesn't let the camera fall like last time. Okay, well, on YouTube, there's very little activity on YouTube now. So I'm going to say to everybody on YouTube, thank you so much for coming out today. We're going to end the stream on YouTube and Facebook. And I'll see you guys on Friday edition of Shortcuts for Your Soul. And TikTok, I'm going to stay with you guys for about 5 more minutes to get a few more questions. Much love to everybody on YouTube. For those of you that are taking my masterclass right now, the 102, know that you're not just taking a course with us and the guides and the angels and the masters. You're also supporting this work. We go, as you know, we go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And we don't charge for that. So you're actually supporting a number of initiatives just by your support and your own willingness to grow. So I want to say thank you to all of our students, all of my Patreons, all of my subscribers and followers, and those people that donate. You are doing so much more than just supporting this program. You're supporting the information reaching many, many, many ears that need to hear. So thank you guys on YouTube, and I will see you guys.